It was the beginning of the school year at Crestwood High, a seemingly ordinary school in a quiet suburban town. The halls echoed with the excited chatter of students catching up after a long summer break. Little did they know that something sinister lurked within the walls of Crestwood. One day, a new student named Emily transferred to Crestwood High. She was a shy, reserved girl with a haunted look in her eyes. Rumors spread quickly about her mysterious past, but no one paid much attention. The students were more intrigued by the ghost stories that had been circulating about the school for years. Legend had it that Crestwood High was built on the grounds of an old cemetery, and that restless spirits haunted the classrooms and hallways. Most dismissed it as mere folklore, but strange occurrences had been reported over the years, doors slamming shut on their own, flickering lights, and chilling whispers that echoed in the empty corridors after dark. Emily, being the new student, became the target of pranks and teasing. The other students thought it would be amusing to scare her with tales of the school's haunted history. Little did they know that Emily harbored a secret of her own, a connection to the supernatural. As the days passed, the atmosphere at Crestwood High grew increasingly tense. Students began experiencing vivid nightmares, waking up in a cold sweat, unable to shake the feeling of an unseen presence watching them. Emily, however, seemed strangely unaffected, as if she had already made peace with the malevolent force that dwelled within the school. One evening, a group of curious students decided to explore the abandoned basement of Crestwood High, where the old cemetery was said to be located. Armed with flashlights and nervous laughter, they descended the creaky staircase into the darkness below. The air grew thick as they ventured deeper into the bowels of the school. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows on the peeling walls, and the distant sounds of footsteps echoed in the desolate corridors. As the group reached the heart of the basement, they stumbled upon an ancient, forgotten room, a room that sent shivers down their spines. In the dim light, they discovered a collection of old photographs and newspaper clippings, revealing the grim history of Crestwood High. The school had been built on the ruins of an orphanage that burned down decades ago, claiming the lives of countless children. Among the yellowed pages, they found a picture of Emily, looking exactly as she did now, despite the fact that the photograph was taken over 50 years ago. Realization struck them like a thunderbolt. Emily was no ordinary student. She was the ghost of a long-forgotten orphan, seeking revenge for the tragedy that befell her and her companions. The students, paralyzed with fear, turned around to find Emily standing before them, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The basement seemed to come alive with the anguished whispers of the restless spirits. The walls groaned, and the temperature dropped to an unbearable chill. Emily, her voice a haunting echo, spoke of the injustice that had befallen the orphans and the torment she endured in the afterlife. As the students tried to flee, the basement transformed into a nightmarish labyrinth, the walls closing in on them. Desperate screams filled the air as they became entangled in a web of shadows. Unable to find an escape, one by one they vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only the echoes of their terrified cries. The next morning, the students who had entered the basement were nowhere to be found. The school, once filled with the sounds of laughter and learning, fell into an eerie silence. The legend of Crestwood High's haunted past became a cautionary tale, whispered among the few who dared to speak of it. Emily, her vengeful spirit finally at peace, faded away into the shadows, leaving behind a school forever marked by the horrors of its past. Crestwood High stood as a silent monument to the price paid by those who dared to uncover its long-buried secrets, and so the doors of Crestwood High remain open, its halls cloaked in an eternal darkness, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are better left undisturbed. It was a cold, dark winter night when a heavy fog enveloped Crestwood High School. The deserted halls echoed with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional creaking of the old building. Sarah, a senior at Crestwood, found herself alone in the school after staying late to complete a project in the library. As she walked down the dimly lit corridor, the flickering fluorescent lights cast long, unsettling shadows on the walls. The quiet whispers of the wind outside seemed to be amplified within the empty school. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, and an unsettling chill ran down her spine. With each step, the air grew colder, and the atmosphere thickened. Sarah reached the main staircase, and as she descended, the creaking of the steps seemed to merge with the distant sound of children. As laughter, she paused, straining to listen, but the laughter faded away as quickly as it had come. Deciding it was just her imagination, Sarah continued down the hall. The school, with its outdated architecture and fading paint, took on a haunting quality in the dim light. She approached the gymnasium, where the echoes of bouncing basketballs and cheering crowds during games were now replaced by an unsettling silence. Sarah's footsteps echoed through the empty gym as she crossed the floor, her eyes drawn to the faded championship banners hanging from the rafters. Suddenly, she heard the unmistakable sound of a basketball dribbling. It was slow and deliberate, echoing through the vast emptiness of the gym. The chill in the air intensified. Heart pounding, Sarah followed the sound to the far end of the gym. The ball rolled to a stop, and the air became thick with tension. Out of the shadows emerged a figure, a child, dressed in tattered gym clothes. The child's face remained hidden in the darkness. "Who are you?" Sarah stammered, her voice trembling. No response. The child continued to stand there unmoving. Sarah took a cautious step back, her eyes fixed on the mysterious figure as she turned to flee. The gym lights flickered, and the child vanished into thin air. Panicking, Sarah raced through the darkened halls, the oppressive atmosphere pressing down on her. She reached the main entrance, only to find the heavy wooden doors slamming shut on their own. Trapped inside, she frantically searched for another way out. As she ventured deeper into the school, Sarah found herself in the abandoned music room. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy. The ghostly melody of a piano played on its own, the keys moving with unseen hands. The temperature dropped, and Sarah's breath formed icy clouds. A chorus of whispers surrounded her, indistinct voices that seemed to echo from the walls. Images flashed before her eyes, faces of children from a bygone era. The whispers grew louder, morphing into desperate cries for help. Sarah covered her ears, overwhelmed by the spectral symphony. In a panic, she stumbled upon the school's old library, where dusty books lined the shelves. As she scanned the titles, the room plunged into darkness. The oppressive silence returned, broken only by the haunting sound of pages turning on their own. The books flew off the shelves, pages flipping rapidly as if possessed by an unseen force. Sarah, now trembling with fear, caught glimpses of unsettling drawings and cryptic symbols on the pages. The ghostly images seemed to tell a tragic tale of a forgotten past. Desperate to escape, Sarah fled the library and stumbled upon the school's basement. The narrow stairway descended into blackness, and a cold wind rushed up from the depths. Reluctantly, she descended into the unknown in the dim light of the basement. Sarah discovered a series of decrepit classrooms that seemed frozen in time. Old desks, dusty chalkboards, and faded artwork adorned the walls as she explored. A faint whisper echoed through the corridors, a spectral voice calling her name. The voice led her to a small room at the end of the basement. Inside, she found a collection of old photographs scattered on the floor. The images depicted a group of children, their faces frozen in time. Among them, she recognized the child from the gymnasium, the same child who had vanished into thin air. As Sarah examined the photographs, the room grew colder. Shadows danced on the walls, and a chilling breeze swept through the air. The whispers intensified, revealing a heartbreaking tale of a tragedy that had befallen these forgotten souls. Cold hand on her shoulder, and a voice whispered in her ear, "Help us." Terrified, she turned to see the ghostly figures of the children, their eyes pleading for release. The room echoed with their sorrowful cries, and Sarah, overwhelmed with empathy, vowed to uncover the truth and set their spirits free. With newfound determination, she embarked on a journey to uncover the school's dark history, a tale of betrayal, loss, and unfinished business that had trapped the souls of innocent children within its walls. Together with the restless spirits, Sarah sought to bring closure to the past and find redemption for the haunted halls of Crestwood High School. And so the shadows in the halls began to fade, and the chilling whispers gave way to a bittersweet harmony, the echoes of a tragedy finally laid to rest. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the empty schoolyard. Northridge High School, a sprawling, aging building, stood silent, its hallways echoing with the remnants of the day's activities. Most students and teachers had long since departed, leaving the building to the settling darkness. Inside room 203, Ms. Thompson, a veteran English teacher, gathered her papers and prepared to leave as she locked the classroom door behind her. An uneasy feeling settled in the pit of her stomach. The familiar hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to take on a sinister tone as she walked down the deserted corridor. The janitor, Mr. Jenkins, shuffled down the hallway pushing his cleaning cart. He exchanged a nod with Ms. Thompson, but his eyes held a hint of unease. Strange things happen in this place after hours, he muttered under his breath, a warning that lingered in the air as he disappeared around the corner. Ms. Thompson dismissed the comment as the product of an overactive imagination, but a chill ran down her spine nonetheless. As she neared the stairwell, she heard faint whispers, like a conversation just beyond her comprehension. She hesitated but pressed on, attributing the sounds to the settling of an old building. On the second floor, the air grew colder. The whispers persisted, growing louder and more distinct. Miss Thompson strained to make out the words, but found herself unable to grasp their meaning. The lockers lining the hallway seemed to rattle softly, a rhythmic cadence that added to the eerie ambience as she approached the end of the hallway. The whispers coalesced into desperate pleas. "Help us," they seemed to cry out, the voices of countless children echoing in the narrow space. Miss Thompson's heart raced, and she fumbled for her phone, intending to call for assistance. Suddenly, the lights flickered and dimmed. The whispers turned into anguished wails, sending shivers down her spine. Panicking, Miss Thompson stumbled backward, colliding with the lockers. The metallic clang resonated through the corridor, drowning out the haunting cries. In the dim light, she saw ghostly figures materialize before her, silhouettes of children in tattered uniforms, their eyes hollow and lifeless, fixed on her with an intensity that froze her in place. The air grew thick with sorrow and despair. Terrified, Miss Thompson fled down the hallway, the ghostly children following in her wake. The stairwell seemed to stretch infinitely as she descended, each step echoing with the haunting cries of the spectral voices. As she burst through the school's front doors, the apparitions faded into the darkness, leaving behind an oppressive silence. Miss Thompson stumbled onto the school steps, gasping for breath. The night air felt heavy, and the school building loomed ominously behind her. She glanced back one last time, half expecting to see the ghostly children watching her from the windows. From that night on, the tale of Room 203 became a legend at Northridge High School. Students whispered about the haunted corridor, and teachers exchanged nervous glances during faculty meetings. Miss Thompson never spoke of her encounter, but those who saw her eyes knew that something had changed within her, and so Northridge High School stood as a silent witness, its walls holding secrets that would never be shared, a chilling reminder that sometimes the echoes of the past linger long after the last bell has rung.